Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Luke here. I'm back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing my 2021 Formula 1 driver standings predictions. Videos like these take a lot of time and effort to make, so if you enjoy, please be sure to hit that like button and sub with noties on. It's your best way to show support to my channel. But with all that being said, let's get right into the video. So beginning the video off, in P20, I went with Nikita Mazepin. This guy hasn't shown me any hope at the Formula 1 level. He's just been spinning. He's just been coming P20 every time, and he's been outpaced by a big margin by his teammate Mick Schumacher, and so for that reason, I don't see Haas making many changes, and I think he'll stay in P20. In P19, I have Guan Yuzhou. So Guan Yuzhou is going to be new to Formula 1 this year, and he showed a bit of promise in Formula 2. However, it's mostly due to their car. I think Alfa Romeo will be the second worst, if not the slowest car on the grid next year. However, they have a pretty solid driver lineup to make up for it, so for that reason, I think he'll do better than Nikita Mazepin, but I still have him at my number 19 spot. Coming in at my number 18 spot, I have Nikita Mazepin's teammate Mick Schumacher. And Mick has shown some signs of promise, as he has made a couple Q2 appearances. However, in that Haas car, like I said with Mazepin, it's very hard to get any pace to perform in a car like that. And so for that reason, I think Mick Schumacher will stay in 18th. I do think he'll out-qualify Guan Yuzhou. However, I don't know. I just feel like Mick Schumacher in that Haas car just isn't a recipe for success, so I have him at my number 18 spot. Coming in at my number 17 spot, I have Nicholas Latifi, and this will be a bit of a bump up for him compared to last year. I feel like Williams is going to produce a faster car this year. I think it'll be probably 7th or 8th fastest on the grid compared to last year, which was probably the 9th fastest or the second slowest car, and he has a fair amount of Formula 1 experience now, so I feel like in that Williams car he will be able to get a solid amount of pace and come P17. Coming in at P16, I have his teammate Alex Albon, so I think he will be faster than Nicholas Latifi in that Williams. He has shown a lot of pace at the Formula 1 level, however it just wasn't to Red Bull standards, so they took him off, but then he was a tremendous He helped Red Bull out tremendously last year with really finding issues with their car through simulators, and he really showed that he can be a solid leader on a team, and so I think it was a great pickup for Williams, and I think he'll have decent success in that car. Coming in at number 15, and it's pretty tough to say because I'm a fan of him, is Valtteri Bottas. He's going to fall a ton this year. Like I said, the Alfa Romeo package just isn't good enough for a driver like Valtteri Bottas, and even though he is a solid driver, just that car cannot carry him, and I don't know, I think that I'd be shocked if I could see him higher than P15. Coming in at P14, I have Yuki Tsunoda, and the AlphaTauri package actually isn't horrible. It's just we haven't seen a crazy amount of success from Yuki Tsunoda at the Formula 1 level. Obviously, he may have been the Rookie of the Year last year, but that's because the rookie class was extremely poor. However, I do think that with the AlphaTauri package, it is able to carry him enough, and I do think he'll outpace some of the slower teams and slower constructors at the back of the grid, like Williams, like an Alfa Romeo, and so for that reason, I have him just edging them out in P14. Coming into P13, I have Lance Stroll. I've never been huge on Lance Stroll. I don't love his pace, and although the Aston Martin car isn't a horrible one, I feel like Lance just has underperformed, and the only time he showed a decent amount of performance was in the 2019 year when there was a bit of suspiciousness going around whether that car was legal or not, the pink Mercedes, but yeah, I just don't see him finishing higher than everyone else on this list, so I have him at P13. And then coming in at P12, I have Lance Stroll's teammate Sebastian Vettel. He showed a couple signs of promise last year, getting that P2, obviously, even though he got disqualified. He has shown pace at times, and there have been rumors spreading that this Aston Martin car has been developed a ton for the 2022 season, so it is a car that we could see Sebastian finish a lot higher in, but it's really just a question mark with Sebastian Vettel. Sometimes he's shown that he's the fastest driver on the grid, and then there's years like 2020 when he was one of the worst. So you never know with a guy like Seb, but I have him at P12. And then coming in at P11, I have Fernando Alonso. I was shocked with how good this guy performed last year. I thought that he'd fall to P14 or P15 just because of his lack, like he hadn't had much experience. Well, he had a ton of experience before that, but then he took a break. And so coming back, I didn't think he'd get the pace that we've all expected, but he really proved us wrong. He had a phenomenal year, and for that, I have to give him the respect that he deserves and put him at P11 on this list. And at P10 is his teammate, Esteban Ocon. Obviously, he won that race last year, which took everybody by surprise. Probably the coolest moment of 2021. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of Esteban and his driving. Of course, he's been very inconsistent. However, his highs are very, very good, and I think they outweigh his lows. So I have him at P10. And then in P9, I have Pierre Gasly. I've been a huge fan of Pierre Gasly, and this just really shows how stacked the 2022 F1 drivers will be, because Pierre Gasly was a shock last year. I did not expect him to finish as highly as he did, and he'd probably replicate that in 2022. However, just with how strong the grid is, I can't see him finishing higher than P9. And then at P8, I have Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, Gasly maybe could outperform him, but we did see a couple amazing highs from Daniel Ricciardo, even though he had a somewhat underwhelming start to his McLaren career. Of course, he saw that win in Imola, or in Monza rather, so I think that we have seen some signs of promise from Ricciardo, and he is a guy that it takes him a couple years to develop on new teams, but then once he's developed, he's a phenomenal driver, so I think we'll just see him go up from here. And then in P7, I have Checo. Obviously, he did a phenomenal year and played a tremendous role in Max Verstappen's championship run, and yeah, I just think he's been a solid teammate, and he definitely has deserved that Red Bull seat. Obviously, Gasly's made a pretty big fight for it, but I think that Perez has held his own. Of course, he won that race, which has been phenomenal, and yeah, so we've just seen some solid stuff from Sergio Perez, so I think he'll finish P7. And then in P6 is Lando Norris. Once again, it just shows how stacked this next season will be, because Lando Norris should be competing for a driver's title in a couple of years, but yeah, it's just crazy. I'm very high on Lando Norris, and I think that he's a phenomenal driver, and if the season wasn't as stacked as it was, I think we could see this guy getting podiums, maybe even every weekend almost. I'm a huge fan of Lando's driving, and yeah, I just think that it'll only go up from here, and he's young and he's still developing, but I'm high on Lando Norris, so I'm gonna have him at 6. And at number 5, staying at number 5, is Carlos Sainz. I was shocked by this guy that he was outperforming Charles Leclerc last year. He was just so consistent and did such a good job in that Ferrari seat in his first season there. And so, yeah, I've just been very impressed by Carlos Sainz, so I'm going to put him at my 5 spot. At number 4, it's a pretty shocking one. It's pretty controversial for the video, but I had Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion. I just think that this season's so stacked, and Red Bull, I don't think they've made as good progress into their 2022 car as other teams like Ferrari and teams like Mercedes have. And so for that reason, I think he's still a solid driver, but I just think the Red Bull car will be somewhat underwhelming, and I think that it'll lead him to P4 in the championship. And then P3 is Mercedes newcomer George Russell. I'm very high on George Russell. I love his driving. I think that he will be able to perform very, very highly in that Mercedes, and similar to what I've said about a lot of the youngsters, it'll only go up from here. This guy will be a future world champion one day, and if he doesn't, then I'll be shocked. We've seen this guy dominate when he has the car that he needs, and for that reason, I have to put him in P3. In P2 is his teammate Lewis Hamilton. You could argue that George Russell would have a better pace, but Lewis Hamilton's just so gritty, and we've seen that last year when Red Bull obviously had a better car for probably 75% of the season, and he was still able to pull through and almost win the championship and take it away from Max. And so for that reason, he's a real fighter, so I have to have him at P2. And then P1, another very, very hot take. I could be very wrong, but I have Charles Leclerc. The thing about Ferrari is when they have a good car, Charles Leclerc will be always competing for a championship. I'm very impressed by the pace Leclerc has, and when you combine his raw pace and speed, and if Ferrari provides a car that can allow Leclerc to compete for a championship, there is no doubt in my mind that Charles Leclerc can win it, and we've seen that across many occasions, so I'm going to give it to Leclerc for the championship. Let's go. With all that being said, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and sub with noties on. It's your best way to show support to my channel. With all that being said, I'm out. Peace.